The following is brought to you by Cranbrook Television Ltd.
Welcome to Round Town.
1978 Sam Steele Days Parade.
1980s as a period.
Welcome to Rocky Hockey.
This is my guest, Roy Orbison.
Some of the things that are important to the Educational Foundation Student Exchange, and again EF for short because it's easier to say, the students have to have a high academic standing before they're accepted into the program. Usually it's the equivalent of a B average, so we're talking about fairly steady, well-rounded students. As well as their academic abilities, they have to go through an interview process where they are interviewed either by an individual or by a panel, and where in fact their English in this case is assessed. In many cases the students already speak a number of languages. In Henrik's case and Liv's case, of course, they speak Danish because that's their native language, and before they even came, they had studied English, and perhaps they'll tell you of other languages that they have studied. Their main objective is to improve their English. It was already good when they got here, and so language is not necessarily a difficulty to overcome, but studying in a foreign language is very different, and I'm sure that they'll touch on that experience. The students that we are looking to place in Cranbrook Homes will be studying at Mount Baker, and they will be taking grade 11 and 12 subjects. They have a variety of subjects that they must take, and they have a choice in some subjects. For instance, they are supposed to take, of course, an English course, and some students actually choose to take 2 English courses. They also must take some form of social studies in the form of geography or history based on something Canadian, and there's a number of courses to choose from, of course, at Baker in that area. One of the electives that seems to have been very successful is drama, and another elective in the area of music. And that kind of experience in that kind of setting gives them lots of interaction with other students. It gives them a chance to do something that's not purely academic, but they're certainly using the language and improving their English by being involved in it. If you can think of something to ask me along the interview, I'd be happy to answer a specific question, but I think I've given the overall objective of the program and what in fact we're hoping to achieve by being on television and getting into the homes in Cranbrook.
That's right. Thank you very much, Eugenia. This is explaining the program, and thank you very much. Now what we'd like to do is ask our students. These students wanted to come to Canada for a year and live with a family, and their hopes were high, and they were able to do that. They're completing their year. And I'd like to start with Liv Beckman from Denmark and ask her just simply, Liv, if you wouldn't mind, tell me a little bit about yourself and how you found adapting to your new family and who your family is here in Cranbrook.
I'm living with the Fletchers, Lynn and Wayne Fletcher in Wycliffe, and I think before I came here I was really quiet when I was with people I didn't know, and I was scared to meet new people, but after I came here and I had to fit into a totally different family I didn't know and the different ways they were living, I think it changed me a lot in that way.
Do you find that even going to school is a little different than when you were going to school in Denmark?
Yeah, it's different, like people and just the system, how the school works and the subject and everything is different. But well, now after 8 months it doesn't seem different anymore.
You're adapting quite well.
Yeah.
Okay, let's again go ahead with you, Henrik. You're from Denmark as well.
Yeah.
We've already introduced you there. How do you find it different? You're you're going to Mount Baker
Yeah.
because you're living in Cranbrook here.
Yeah.
And I must say here too that Liv is going to Selkirk High School up in Kimberley. So what's different about Mount Baker? What have you found that you've enjoyed, Heinrich?
I enjoyed the attitude among the Canadian people because it's different from what I'm used to, and so is the teaching system over here. It's slightly different from the Danish system, so you'll almost every day you'll experience new things, and you'll see people handling things in a different way that you're used to. I think that's got to be one of the things that still amazes me about going to school over here. The difference in the Canadian school system contra the Danish system.
And how do you find living with your family? And who is your family here?
Sorry. I'm living with Mike and Judy Guido out in Wycliffe.
Yes.
I'm really fond of that, by the way.
You're really fond of them? That's
yeah,
wonderful.
but of course I was just like Leo in the beginning when I came over here on the plane. I was very nervous because I thought I have received some letters and I've sent some letters over to my family, but I didn't really know them. I mean, this was real people waiting for me, and I was here to be there for a year, so I was really nervous, but I came and I met them and I found out they were as nervous as I was, and they really wanted to have an exchange student, and I really wanted to be an exchange student, so it worked out just fine.
So you would say that would be a wonderful combination.
Absolutely.
And for the host family, or prospective host families, I'm sorry, out there listening to this and thinking, gosh, maybe we'd like to share our family life with a student from abroad. That's one of the things that with the EF Foundation that we're very, Eugenia Materi and myself are what they call area reps, and we can actually match student applications with the families. Did you find that was true with your families, that when you were chosen from the families here, that they looked at certain interests that you had, that you find that you can fit right into the family? Do you find that as being with the family this year? Do you find that you do things maybe a little differently, but there are interests that are the same? Or do you find that, Liv?
Yeah, I think it worked out really good. Like, even though there's a lot of things, I remember when I got my application and it said curling on, and first of all I didn't know what curling was, and like my host dad was the president of the club, and I was thinking, oh my god, and I found out what it was, and I always thought it was the most stupid game I ever seen. But after I've been playing it now, I really enjoy it. And
you really enjoy it?
I've learned a lot, and I think that to be in a host family, like my family had told me a lot of times that I've given them as much as they have given me. So I think it's a good idea.
Good.
Lynn, I think 2 points have been raised by the students themselves. One is the fact that not only the students that come here are getting a tremendous amount of benefit by living with a family, by being involved with a family, but in fact why we're trying to reach families is because there is something for the family to receive in return.
Definitely.
And I think that that's a very important point to make, and I'm glad to hear that the students brought it up before we mentioned it.
That's right.
The other
Very
point
good.
was that what do we do? What do you and I do to match the students with the families? Well, about this time last year we pulled out a set of applications like this, and I'll just pull one at random. This is Anne, and on Anne's application, she just happens to also be a Danish student. I really didn't do that on purpose. But there, Anne comes from Denmark, and she would tell us on her application about her mother or her father. She would tell us where she lives, where the closest large center might be, what kinds of things she is interested in. For instance, does she have pets? Does she have any specific interests? And what kinds of things is she looking for in a host family? Now, by telling us all this, it's really not Anne that will do the choosing. It's really the host family, because they're opening up their home to a new person. It's the host family that actually does the choosing. I remember in both these students' cases how the host families went through the application and out of dozens of them were able to choose this particular student that they really wanted to have. And it's marvelous that it can be done on a piece of paper. I think it says a little bit about how thorough it is, and a little bit about how adaptable people in general are. Even if you do have different interests, we are all human, and because we're interested in sharing the same kinds of things, I think we're adaptable. Another thing that is on this application that tells the host family a little bit about the person is an essay that had to be written under a certain amount of pressure, a time limit, and no dictionary to help with the language. It allows the student under a topic, which is not always a topic of their choice, about something about themselves. A typical topic might be, why do you think the host family would choose you? And that's a pretty important question, and yet they have to verbalize and they have to express themselves adequately in order to let their host family know something about themselves. Back to these students, I would like to ask them, in order to help the families that we're looking for, what kinds of things do you think your host family had to adapt to make it easier on themselves? What kinds of adaptations did they have to make to receive you?
That's a good question.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it would be a perfect place to be if I shared their hobby and they shared my hobby. So it's sort of give and take. You put in and you receive, they put in, and I hope they receive too.
What just was important, I think, in the beginning was that, like, of course, the first couple of days you would treat it like a guest, but after a while, it's important that they don't treat you like a guest all the time, because if you just feel like you're just sitting there and you can't do anything, you feel, well, it's not my home, because at home you're putting your own dishes away and stuff like that once in a while.
What kinds of things did the host family do to help you not feel like a guest?
I remember the first time we had dinner at their house, Mike, my host dad, told me to don't feel nervous and act like I would do in Denmark. And it was the first time we were together, and he just said that, and it made me feel real good, and it helped me loosen up towards my host family.
When I got in the house the first time, they said, just relax and be like home, but like you feel like everybody always say that when you come to people's house, so I didn't really react to it. I think but after I got to get into the family and I got to like help around and stuff like that, I felt really comfortable then.
Did either of your host families assign you some chores, for instance, that you could feel responsible for? And
well, yeah, that's the part of being in a family, that everybody has to do something. So, of course, there would be some things that they would like you to help out with, and I mean that would be natural.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing, because like to help out, and you feel like you're helping them too as they're helping you. So.
Okay. I think I hate to break here, but we're going to have to break for a public service announcement. And after the break, we're going to return with 2 other students that we have here in Cranbrook, and you'll meet and get to talk to them as well. Thank you.
The uncontrolled growth of certain cells in the human body results in a disease called cancer. Thanks to the generous donations of thousands of Canadians, research has recently discovered the genes that in all probability trigger this uncontrolled growth. Once we discover how to control these genes, the real possibility of a cure for cancer will be with us. However, we need more research. We need more money, because the cure for cancer is in your genes.
Welcome back. You're with myself, Linda McCammon, who's an area rep for EF Foundation, and Eugenia Materi, an area rep for the exchange program that we're speaking about today. And we have with us 2 new faces, one from Japan, her name is Miyuki, and one from Finland, her name is Tea. before we get talking with the students, I suppose you're wondering, if there is interest there, wondering, well, what happens when we do decide to host a student for the year? What happens between the time where we get to know our student and also going to meet this student at the Cranbrook Airport? Can I have Eugenia tell us what goes on there, please?
Sure. Last year about this time we had a number of phone calls because they were watching the program and suddenly they were interested. Basically, our job is to match up the family with the students. So at this point, if there are families out there that are interested, give us a phone call when you see our phone number, and we'll start the process. First, we'll show you some applications, and we'll sift through a few of them. You might want to choose a boy, or you might want to choose a girl. You might want someone who is used to younger children, or you might want someone who doesn't have any younger brothers or sisters, or older brothers or sisters. We can help you sort of make a short list before you actually look at some applications. Then you look at the applications and decide which person suits you best and suits your family's needs and interests the best. We will ask a host family to give us 2 names so that we can follow up a reference check. Now, although most families come to us with some other family's recommendation that they host a student, we do go through the formal looking at references and checking them out. And that's an obligation that I think everybody can understand and appreciate. Once we've done that, we then have a discussion with the host family, make sure that they understand what is expected of them, the kinds of commitment that is involved, and the kind of support that they can expect from the 2 area reps in the program. Lynn and I work very closely together in Cranbrook, and what I don't have time for, she fills in, and vice versa. So we're here, we live here, and we're interested in being the support person for both the students and the families. Once we decide that you've chosen a specific student, we call the Toronto head office, and they put us in touch with the student's country. Things happen very quickly at that point. The student gets a phone call on the other end and is told that there is a prospective family in Cranbrook waiting for them. And I think these 2 students might be able to tell you what happened when they received that message. Then we fill out some paperwork with you and for you so that things go smoothly. We do have contact with Mount Baker or Selkirk, wherever the student is being placed, so that the school flows quite smoothly and we register the student, etc. We also have further contact with the family in case they have questions. We encourage the family to send them information about Cranbrook and tourist information, as well as personal information about their own family. Photos are exchanged, and suddenly comes the exciting day, usually the last week in August, when you're asked to be at the Cranbrook Airport at a certain time to meet your student. At that point, it means that the foreign student is ready to enter a Canadian home and be with you for about 10 months.
That's very good. So now what we'd like to do is have some questions for our students here, but as Eugenia had touched on earlier, was the question is, what happened when you received word at home that you were going to be going to Canada and to a Canadian family? What happened then? We'll start with you, Miyuki.
Okay. Actually, I was looking for application from EF, and when I received that application about my host family and Mount Baker, and I was so excited about it, but I was excited half of myself, and I was kind of scared because my host family has 3 boys, younger boys, and I really wanted to have younger brothers or sisters, but I I don't know,
It sounded like you were
Yeah.
pretty excited, all
Yeah.
mixed emotions.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Taya, what about yourself?
I was very excited when I got to know that I can stay here like 1 whole year.
That's wonderful. Okay. And also, were there any other questions, Eugenia, we should ask our students here for our audience?
Well, an interesting thing might be what was your best experience about Cranbrook during the year? We've heard from the other two students about their families and how they had to be flexible and how they had to adapt. What's your best experience?
That I got to know lots of new many people.
So all kinds in Cranbrook.
Yes.
What about your families? What kinds of things did you have to change from what you were used to?
Actually, I sometimes babysit, and I've never done this before. Like, I've never done babysit before, and but they're they're cute, so I can help it, and also they have own jobs, like set the table and clean up the tables.
So the younger boys,
yeah.
as well as you, have specific jobs. And of course you have a girl that's very close in age to you, so that's quite helpful.
Yeah.
So you're in a fairly large family and lots of excitement every day.
Yeah.
How about you, Taya? What kinds of things have changed?
Well, here I live in countryside, so and back home I live right in downtown, so some things are very different.
So you've had to make that adaptation. You've had to change your lifestyle a little bit.
Yes.
And would you recommend it for other people, other students, or other families? Do you think that's a good idea, to try something different?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I think they've also picked up some Canadianisms. They have picked up as many ums and ahs as I have in a conversation.
That's right. They're going to go home with A, traditionally Canadian.
Taya was saying something earlier, and I think it's worthwhile. She said, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm scared about Taya.
Yeah, that I might forget my English here.
And some other times the students have said, gee, I wonder if I can remember how to say such and such in my own language.
That's true. That happens, I suppose. Well, in closing, we would like to thank everyone for watching, and we're hoping that there is someone there that out there in Cranbrook and Kimberley that feel that they'd like to host. And we'd be more than welcome. Eugenia and myself would be more than welcome to come out with our applications and all the information. For closing, I'd like our exchange students to say thank you and goodbye in their native language.
Okay. Sayonara. Arigatou gozaimashita.
Thank you.
Kiitos näkemiin.
Okay, you have it. Eugenia, would you like to add anything else?
Perhaps we could flash our phone numbers. 489-3045 for me.
Okay,
and yours?
426-7958. Please call.
The furniture for our
Before you leave, please subscribe to our channel. It will not only help you stay up to date with our videos, it will also be a nice way to show your support for the volunteers who make this project possible. Thanks for watching, and please tune in again.